Yes.
Hello. I've just begun the recording. Welcome to Soul Scribe. This is going to be our background 2. I noticed this is immediately a mistake in the title. 2, there you go. For your character Kalder. So let's get going.
Yes, let's.
We're playing in this kind of weird world. Have you seen a map of it, by the way? I'm not sure.
I have not seen a map of the area.
Gosh darn it, I'm gonna post that into lore, because that should be something
Quite important.
people know about.
The music is giving Left 4 Dead 2.
I haven't played that. That's a game I definitely need to play.
That's insane. Yes, no, I have seen this. But only from like Lydia showing it to me like after Pathfinder session.
Yeah, there you go. I posted a little picture for you.
It's fantastic.
So, what do you wish to kind of begin with? Because we've got a lot of stuff to cover with you today. So we can start with either just talking about the world first, and then going into like where like your character kind of begins, and then just kind of go chronologically, or if there's a particular place you want to go to first.
I think starting with the world and going from there is probably the best like route.
Yeah. Okay. So, in that case, we will begin there. We are obviously playing in the Soul Scribe setting, and we are within the continent of Oradon. Oradon spans like quite a large distance, and then is bordered with a large ocean that stretches off to like much further away lands. But in its very center, the old kind of crown jewels of Oradon was the ancient city of Remrel. This is your origin, like where you were born, where you lived the majority of your life, or your natural life at least.
Yes.
Before an event, still like mostly up to guesswork by modern scholars, caused Remrel's downfall, and in turn the spawning of Soulsmere, the strange curse that seemed to befell the ruins of Remrel, and then creep outwards, eating away at the land. Until eventually kind of move out of Remrel's borders and into other places. Those other places immediately are Landrel and Hiroki. So Landrel is kind of like this super kind of cold, wintry place, and is currently falling apart. And then Hiroki was once quite a grand nation, but they're currently falling on hard times. Currently very much striving to return to those good times. But beyond then, we have the other places like Chantel, and Taravar and Gotala, which are the other three kind of main places within Oradon. So you have a strange perspective on the world compared to most people, because at some point you died, but instead of basically being kind of guided by Minim, god of the dead and champion of the Blank Sands, you some kind of disfigurement of the soul, an unraveling, has meant that you are basically unable to truly die, unable to find your way to the afterlife, and as a result, you come back as an unmade, basically as a little skeleton, and you're not unique in the sense that there are many unmade out there, although they are rare to still be as sane as you. But as a result of your unique condition and the severity of the destabilization of your soul, trying to kind of leave the equally unstable bounds of Soulsmere results in a kind of like mental decay. So you leave,
Yeah.
you get dumber until eventually you just kind of pass out.
Mm.
And if you obviously, if enough time passes, or if your remains are brought back, you'll reanimate on the once you reach the border.
Yeah. Well, once you're back in Soul Smear,
Mm.
forcibly or not. Um. Yeah. Which, if I'm correct, did happen to me.
Mm. Yes. So, I suppose we'll kind of begin your like we'll talk about a bit about your past then. So, Soulsmare and all of that at the beginning of the campaign has happened about like just over 100 years ago, right?
Mm.
So you like how old were you roughly when you died? Do you think?
I imagine they were probably in their like 40s, like late 30s, like early 40s.
Yeah,
So
which
they were
makes
like,
you very old.
yeah, quite old.
At least, around 140, 150 years old, which is exceptional. And during that amount of time, you'd likely have, been relatively, like, conscious throughout the majority of that, or like 100-year period after your death. And during then, you would have seen a lot of change between, basically in Soulsmere. It would have started off being relatively confined and a terrifying place to be. Because there's all kinds of things that exist there, and all kinds of horrors, especially nearer the center. And I think, yeah. So one of the things that you would have found there. Sorry, I'm just going to change the music. Would have been like, first of all, dragons.
Yes.
Especially nearer the center. You're very aware that there are powerful creatures, remnants of Remrel, like yourself, that are, lingering around.
Are there skeleton dragons? That is my question.
You're not aware of skeletal dragons, but you do know that dragon fire is not normal. In the
Yeah.
sense that if a dragon breathes fire on something, its soul will unravel. So you will see like it will flash between like various forms of itself before eventually unraveling completely. An example would be like if it breathes like its fire onto a tree, it might change what type of tree it is rapidly before suddenly like wilting or just like turning to smoke. So these are creatures of like pure chaos that are roaming around, and something like best to avoid. Although you would have known, like given your position, that they generally speaking, like don't leave the areas they kind of guard.
Yeah.
So you, as long as you like know where they are, you can kind of stay away. But as time passes and Soulsmere's border increases, you get more and more, like basically like a world to explore.
Yeah.
And you would have definitely come into contact with like some of the first adventurers, and like people trying to like step foot into Soulsmere. So some things that I think would be good to explain, because you would have definitely encountered them, whereas most would not have, are like the strange anomalies and things that are present in like very far into Soulsmere, like especially nearer the center. For example, that anything that basically uses like electromagnetic fields don't work. So like compasses and things like that, they like cease to function properly. You also know that there are certain places where like sorcery is used. And sorcery is kind of, it's a gift that you also like possess knowledge of from your former
Mm.
life. It is kind of an abstraction from soul scribing.
Yes.
Basically, it's magic, um, and it's like so layered that it's hard to see it as like just like layered soul scribing.
Mm.
Um, but the problem with it is that if left to decay over time, it kind of slowly unravels and it creates these weird anomalies. So, especially in older ruins and things like that,
Hmm.
this red hue becomes very like visible, um, and all kinds of strange things can happen. Like the pressure in the air can increase. There can be sudden erratic changes in gravity. You can see like ghostly like visions, like either forwards and backwards in time. You can have like non-Euclidean space, uh, and in extreme cases of really high instability, you can just kind of have things like just fade out of existence. Um,
Mm.
and sometimes the more terrifying fade into existence.
Yeah.
Um, so as a result, especially going around places near old sorcery, it's very tricky. Um, so, you yourself as a character, um, you died, um, and probably would have woken up outside the actual walls to the city itself. Um,
Hmm.
which is a relatively lucky thing, as the main like actual city, like the capital, is like swarming with dragons and other like horrors from all of the the like large amounts of sorcery that made the city function.
Yeah. So I just
Um,
like, so did I like awaken the ground, or did I like come back to, or like awaken like buried, and like dug myself out and was like, oh,
hmm.
oh,
So I guess so from what I imagined,
yeah,
you would have been basically you wake up in rubble. Effectively,
yeah,
like there was a tower that was on the side of the city, effectively, and it
yeah.
collapsed. And so basically you're in the rubble on the outside of the city walls where the tower has fallen. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So I've got like so from my character's knowledge, because I like to imagine I don't really know much about my past from when I was alive,
Yeah.
except that I was crossbowed through the skull, I think, given the hole,
Mhm.
and woke up here a skeleton,
Mm.
and being like, well, oh, that's not normal, I don't think, as far as I'm aware.
Mm.
Looking up at the sea of dragons in the sky and the
Mhm.
the decaying land.
Yeah, you would have definitely had a good sense of things have gone terribly wrong.
Yeah,
Um, and then it wouldn't surprise me if your immediate reaction would have been like to just run and then
yeah,
obviously leave the zone and get dumb and then like
yeah.
fall apart for a while. Um, and then yeah. So what do you reckon
Hmm.
you would have kind of like done as time progresses? So I made a few notes. If you look at the
Hmm.
world map that has been sent,
Yeah.
um, you can see there's basically this like the darkness at the bottom.
Hmm.
That is modern day, like the border of Solsmere. So everything below
Yeah.
that is Landrel, and then
Yes.
you can see that there's this mountain range that goes across.
Yeah.
Um, so for the majority of Solsmere's time, it was behind those mountains, right? So it's always been growing up. And eventually, it hit
Yeah.
those mountains, and it like slowed down a fair amount. But
Hmm.
recently, these shimmer storms, which are like They're these kind of storms that are basically just you can think of them as like surges from decaying sorcery have like whipped up and basically spun off, and where like you get these like red glistening storms that just completely destroy everything it goes through and just breaks
Yeah.
things down to sand effectively. And they have just eaten through like these big boreholes in the mountain. And they now, instead of it being a gradual expansion, every now and then new holes open up in the mountains, and there's just like a big rush as like basically the shimmer storms just spread Soulsmere in like a big explosion,
I see.
which is not great.
No.
But those mountains would have been like from the inside, they would have been almost like a curtain that like wards off the majority of the world from you.
Yeah.
But as it spread further and further, eventually, the place on the map, Darkmoor Fortress,
Mm-hmm.
that's like the way in and out through the. It's like the mountain pass, and that would
Yeah.
be like the main way to get through the mountains, and how most people would have gotten past it before Soulsmere expanded there.
Yeah.
And even like today with Soulsmere's expansion, that's still the route people try and get through. So within there, like beyond like that point, is where you would have spent the majority of your time.
Yeah, I like to imagine they spent because when they were if they woke up and had no memories, they didn't really know the way out.
Mm,
So they probably spent like quite a long time just kind of lost. And
mm,
because whenever they die, they just come straight back after a couple of days.
mm,
That probably happened for a while until, they would have reached like civilization and probably spent a long time around Darkmoor Fortress, just kind of on the edges, trying to figure things out.
yeah.
Um, until it expanded, and since it's expanded, he's kind of, I think, like dedicated himself to like understanding and mapping out like the ways through this like expanded territory.
Mm,
Um, and kind of maybe acting as like a guide or just trying to like help where he can. Well, I don't know if he's given up on trying to figure out who he was after such a long time, but he definitely wants to know where to look, but doesn't know where to begin because he doesn't, or he has a very limited knowledge.
okay. That makes sense. Well, I think there's definitely like lots of people, especially if you're like frequenting like the big cities and stuff, who'd be very
Yeah,
like interested in getting you to help map places out. Especially someone who like doesn't, isn't necessarily going to like die as easily.
yeah.
Uh, so one of the things that I would be interested in, is there any place on the map that's currently revealed that you would want to know extra things about?
Um, I feel I quite like the idea of the failed encampment.
Hmm.
What is that?
So, yes, the failed encampment was an idea to create a like basically another city like Darkmoor Fortress near the mountains.
Right.
And try and make a more sustainable place to live. With the out of concession pact, like still operational, there's this big gold bounty for people to live in the world, and basically there was a settlement there before Shimmerstorm hit, and so they came through and they tried to build something there. And the idea was that they would try and use like some of the boreholes to the north as
Mm-hmm.
like a quick way to get through the mountains. However, it went quite badly awry just from like
Yeah.
miscalculations. They thought like first of all they got like there's quite a lot of like other things are like alive up there.
Yeah.
So there are various factions that you would be aware of. So I'll tell you about them. So one of them are the Buglings. Buglings are like you know how the what are they called? You know how the elevated are like people like animals that have gained sentience and things.
Yeah. I
The-
assume they are insects that have had the same thing happen.
Exactly. You can think of
Yeah.
them like goblins. They're very like
Yeah.
tribal, and they're very they have like very strange like they're not like the brightest like of creatures.
Yeah.
However, they are annoyingly persistent and like to attack things.
Yes.
So they were constantly like sieged by those, and the warhols to the north that they thought weren't particularly active anymore turned out to still be quite active, and so they like were eventually knocked out by a combination of the two elements. And what's left of that encampment has now been basically taken over by Bugling forces, and they've started to create a little like civilization of their own there, which is very strange because normally they don't do that kind of thing. They're much more like singular.
Yeah. I like the idea that maybe I spent some time, while I was in Soulsmere and trying to be like useful. Maybe there was like a mountain pass that kind of led close to the encampment when it was being set up. So I would act as like liaison. I'd like go there and I'd like travel back through the mountains to Soulsmere before I, you know, die. Because I was like, yo, another piece of civilization I can interact with. That's kind of sick.
Okay.
So maybe that's why I know like that much about it. Maybe I was there when and it fell, and then after that the holes opened up. I was like, well, damn.
So I think you would know of like the so if you so there's a mountain pass that gets to the failed encampment.
Yeah.
You know that there's an like that is a very treacherous one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's also an extremely treacherous one that goes to Dragon Roost Ruins.
Yeah.
Although, given its name, most people avoid it.
Yeah.
And then the safest is the one around Dogmore Fortress. But
Yeah.
but you would know the route well, fast like C1 of the failed encampment.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just suggestions. If anything doesn't work with what you've laid out, then please say. But maybe I was in the failed encampment like as like the final, like as it like fell to the bug people, and because I'm just a skeleton, I just played dead. I just like let down.
That would have 100% worked.
Yeah, and I was just like there, and then eventually lost consciousness, and then the shimmering waste like came back out, and I was like, oh, guess I'm back again.
If you were there when it fell, I'll give you a
Yeah.
little bit of lore about what
Yeah.
these Buglings are up to.
Yeah.
They have elected a god
Okay.
amongst their people, who is supposed to be like the supreme Bugling. And
Yeah.
you happen to know from your just like time alive
Yeah.
that generally speaking in Bugling society, the leadership generally comes down to how long you can fly. So like the longer you can fly consecutively, generally speaking, is like how high you are on the societal like rung. And these little Buglings had these like terribly painted banners of like a gold bug.
Yeah.
With like almost looks like a scarab, like a golden scarab beetle,
Yeah.
with wings. And so that's like that seems to have united them.
Okay. They are under the banner of a golden beetle. Cool. No, that's rad. So like they're like, yeah. I I was just kind of milling around there for a bit, and then I was like, cool, new civilization. I'll help out where I can. And it does that, and it falls to the buglings, and then I play dead, and then I wake up however long afterwards. I'm like, oh, last I remembered they were killing everything, and now they worship this guy, this big blood bug man, bug queen, bug god, whatever. Well, I'm getting out of here.
Yep. Okay. So, assuming that you've left there, then
Hmm.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
During your travels, nearing the end, you would have probably come across a particular band of adventurers. Um,
Yes.
uh, Actually, probably maybe two. Hold on. Let's see. Um, you would have been like, how far out do you reckon you'd have gotten? Would you have ever gone to Rolling Gate, or do you have mainly like
For
spent your
for
time in
sure.
Dartmoor?
So, as it expanded, he would have like basically followed the border as the border went
Hmm.
further and further out and out.
Okay. Cool.
Mhm.
Um. So in that case, um, uh,
Mhm.
at one point on your adventures to Rolling Gate, you would have come like basically just been like moving through the strange streets that always feel almost as if you're like on like a boat or something. Just like it's the strange like slight swaying of like the entire like platform being like very slowly dragged forwards.
Yeah.
Um, um, and it's a strange city of moving parts. As like the kind of movement from its like wheels are used by like the strange scholars, most of which you would know hail from a place called Terravar,
Mhm.
um, which is known for its like strange scribes and scholars, and their odd understandings of like how the mechanical world functions.
Yeah.
Um, so they have like these big gears and things that work their odd machines here. Now this place is not the easiest place to like stay long term. Like the people who
Yeah.
run Rolling Gate have a pretty hefty tax on people who try and just like live in the safest spot of Soulsmere just to claim the outer concession packs money.
Yeah.
So they they allow that, but if you're staying in their city, they're gonna take a big cut of the reward that you
Yeah.
get. And so the people running this place are rich.
Yeah.
Um, and they have the muscle to kind of back themselves up. And like punishment in this place is taken extremely seriously. You're hooked up to the front and you're dragging like
Yeah.
you're dragging Ronald's Gate. Like the majority of there's like no prison. It's just you're pulling.
Yeah.
Um, so but this place is just almost like if you're not heading directly to Darkmoor, this is like the go-to place to get to this side of like the kind of the Great Divide that goes like past where on the map you see where like the Seventh Act is. Like
Yeah.
there's this huge split in the land that unless you're planning to cross through the Seventh Act, you're it's hard to get between.
Yeah.
So people who want to not cross through there, they come through Rolling Gate. And Um, I think like one time when you're here, like just going through the like taverns and things, you would
Hmm.
eventually come across like a strange like positivity like in just kind of in the streets like
Hmm.
as a new party has come in and a bard in their party, a man dressed in like this vibrant blue and silver,
Hmm.
is just uh, basically like singing these songs, like making everyone feel like great in the taverns.
Hmm.
Whilst their party is kind of like sat in one corner, drinking and like resting. This person seems to be has managed to like break through the melancholy that often inflicts people who have been left alone with their thoughts out in Soulsmere too long.
Well, um, I guess, seeing them, I would have waited. It was this new interesting group. If anything, at least a new contact to keep tabs on. Um, so yeah, I like to imagine that they play the music and then they look up and then just like approaching is this kind of tall figure, like head like enshadowed by this big hat until they like get closer and like the firelight like reveals this like skeletal head with like glowing balls for eyes as he
Uh,
looks down on them for just a second and extends a hand. And it's like, "Hello, I am Kalder.
would you make
You
me
are new."
an intimidation roll, please?
Sure, sure. Are we rolling physically or in the box?
I don't mind.
Cool. I guess I will roll physically. Let's open my character sheet. For the moment, there you go. So what is intimidation? Intimidation is charisma, if I'm correct.
I believe so.
Yes, it is. My charisma is +0, to be fair.
Ooh.
Um,
It's neutral. It's neutral.
so I got a 2, to be fair. I got a 2.
This person is definitely a little strange. You get that impression nearly immediately because when they
Yeah.
see you, it's more like instead of like the normal kind of like mild terror that you inflict upon people, they look at you with like awe and they go, "How peculiar! Uh, a skeletal man in the city. Have you come to listen to my music?"
No, but it is a pleasant surprise.
They nod. Yes, yes. Well, I need to really work on my advertising, you see. I'm trying to get my name spread around the place. It's Azul, by the way. What's yours?
I am Kalder. What was the name again? How is it spelled?
Azul. Azul.
Azul. Human bard from. It is Rolling Gate I'm in, yeah.
Yeah, you're currently in Rolling Gate.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
Azul, what brings you to Soulsmere? Are you merely trying to fend off the darkness with the light of tunes? Or do you have any ulterior goals?
he kind of like leans forwards almost like conspiratorially,
Mm-hmm.
and he would just whisper, "Well, between you and me, I I personally am just here to keep my team's morale high. I'm uh, not entirely sure whether or not my friend's ambitions to end the expansion of Soulsmere is really possible. But if they're willing to try it, then I think my goal should be, as a professional performer, to keep morale high. And judging from this sorry place, my skills will be in high demand."
It's true. I have spent many years in this land, and while some places are slightly nicer than the city that has slaves pulling it, some are not. Some are not. Your tunes will be appreciated. Where are you aiming for?
Um, uh, well, I think we're heading towards the old ruins up to the north. Dragon Roost, I believe the name.
I see. Well, and he's going to give a small little anecdote on the correct route to take. Like when you go up, when you're going up north past the Temple of Lutea, take the third exit. Everyone takes the second. You do not want to take the second.
To his credit, he does actually like pull out a small notebook and make some notes. um,
Anything past there through the mountains, I have forgotten, unfortunately. But don't go past the mountains yet.
he nods and says, "Well, we've heard rumors that there's a way past the mountains, uh, hidden there in the ruins,
Mhm.
and maybe some kind of artifact. I'm not entirely sure. I'm just the bard, but uh, my friends seem quite excited about it." He kind of looks
Yeah.
over. It's a poor time to look. They all look extremely tired.
Yeah.
Uh, but he would smile and
Yes.
say, uh, "I'm hopeful we'll find what we're looking for. If
I.
you happen to
Mhm.
get past the mountains anytime soon, and we're successful, maybe I can play a song. Uh,
I would appreciate it. I have not heard music such as yours for quite a while.
hmm.
But so the rest of his party is here. Yes.
Yeah, the rest of his party is here. They're just like
Well,
he's kind of sat up on like a little stage, and they're like
yeah.
off at a table.
I see. Fair. Well, I guess I will. I'll let him go back to his music. I'll go and introduce myself to the party. Good to know who's coming in and out. And risking their lives in here. You never
Hmm.
know when one of them will might maybe succeed, and it's good to know people who succeed.
That's true. You find like a group of like three others like sat at this table.
Hmm.
Um, two of those three have that distinct look about them that implies that they are the soul bleached variety.
Ah,
One of them looks up when they see you coming, and they kind of like study you for a moment, and then kind of like give a little nod, and then they smile and say, "Ah, it's rare to see one like you all the way out here."
tends to be visiting friends, seeing how far the border has gone. Not as far as I expected, but still always concerning. I
Um,
hear you're going to Dragon's Roost.
a different one of them. This one has like an unusual like yellow skin from where they were soul bleached.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like the color of mustard. Um,
Ah,
and their eyes are a strange red. And they kind of give you a nod and say, "Ah, it seems our bard friend Azul has been giving out sensitive information again. It's barely been a week," he says. Uh, they shake their head, but they kind of almost like perk up and say, "You wouldn't happen to have visited the area recently, would you, friend?"
not recently. A long time ago since I came down from that direction. But I remember some bits, and you always hear the odd extra little bit of information here and there. I already told your companion about at least what was correct brute knowledge several years ago, but I can't imagine it's changed tremendously.
They nod. Do you know about? Well, have you heard any rumors recently regarding the ruins'
Would,
stability?
would, would I have?
You can make me a history
What?
roll. I mean, it's possible you have.
My intelligence is 10, so a flat 0 roll. So
You've traveled
that's
around a lot. You can make these kind of rolls with advantage if you want.
okay. I'll take that. So the first roll was a 16,
Mm-hmm.
and the second roll was a 2. So I'll go with 16.
Okay. You've heard some rumors, like only like you like it's definitely like the kind of rumor that you would say is most likely fake.
Yeah.
But there's like some word that a like a strange like a woman with a red like ruby has set up in the ruins and can supposedly tell the future.
Well,
They also kill anyone who goes to the ruin.
Murderous fortune teller is the most recent thing I've heard.
Uh,
But people say all sorts of wild and, well, I won't say insane, given how I look around. Everything is currently. But what's your goal? Are you going there to find this woman to see the future, or just to find this artifact and tunnel said to be there?
the third member of the party, a human, like dressed in like these kind of thick-looking leather, like armor, kind of looks up and says, "The tunnel was our primary goal, but well, knowing the future couldn't hurt, could it? It
I
said,
don't know.
said
Depends.
dragons once lingered in those ruins, and well, those things. I mean, who knows how they work? Maybe they can see the future."
Well, I wish you all the luck. If you ever need guide services, it says, with like a bow and extended hand, call upon Kalder.
They make a note of it.
Yeah.
I think
I also wonder, do they have a name? Like, does your little group have a name?
like a party name.
Yeah.
I think they would like um look around and one of them like kind of groans and says, "Azol was trying to come up with names for our party the other day, but we're just trying to get deeper into Soul Scribe, so we don't really have, you know, like a
No
proper."
glories yet to call upon.
Exactly. This is the first
Well,
stop of many, after all.
Calder might pull out a notebook, uh, and if anyone were to see it, it has like unnamed party, like 7, like 8, with a description, like a small note on each person.
Nice.
It's be like maybe survive question mark like at the end of it. I
I'm gonna
see.
roll for one of them to see if they see that. Where's my dice at? There it is. 5. No, they thankfully they don't know that. And they kind of they like nod and like a few days go past and eventually they move on. And you catch word that some like big players are coming to Rolling Gate.
I see.
So like there are a few people like out and about, like like few adventure parties that really do have like a name for themselves, that like with quite a few accomplishments under them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those groups, uh, like seem to have like recently, like you've heard some news that something happened and they've all kind of split up. Um,
Right.
but some of the members seem to be here in Rolling Gate now. So, like the leader of the party is a person called Cade Davasor.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically Davasor's band that was, they're like some of the people who have ventured further, like allegedly even got into the city itself at one point. And they've
Is
like,
it Kade, Kade,
mm-hmm,
and then how's the last name spelled? Dav. Yep. Yep.
DAVERSAW.
Davasaur, famous adventurer. Cool. Yep.
Um, and you would be able to eventually, like, you'd know how to find them if you wanted to.
I think. I mean, seeing as if they split up, I think his goal would be all right. Well, some of them, I've probably worked with like one or two of them, to like
Mm,
get them through Soul Smear
interesting.
to like a certain location.
You
So
almost certainly have met this group before.
yeah,
There is one person you almost certainly do know. There's a
yeah,
guy called Braze who is a fellow unmade, um,
yeah,
and he was like the party's like sorcerer.
yeah,
And his main function is he had this rod of like gate, so he could use it to create portals, and that's how they got so
right,
far across the land.
yeah.
And it was like a very expensive relic.
Always looked at it like emotionless face, but a little bit like fuck. God, I wish I had that.
Yeah. Um, I like, and he would probably met with you a few times and have been like,
Yeah,
uh, Kalder, good to see you again, my friend.
Braze. What happened? I hear the band has split up.
Oh wow, you wouldn't have seen him since the split.
Right.
But before then, he would have basically like been like, man, traveling with, the fleshy ones really is terrible. They,
Oh,
um, they're nice people, but they push you to do all kinds of things, explore all kinds of places, dangerous places. I've had to fight dragons recently. I hate dragons. You kind of eventually come to the conclusion that like Braze is like a bit of a coward.
right. I
Um,
see.
but
But I think he's been like, understandable, and he's like, you can't die. What's the problem? Like in his head, it's like his first thought.
hmm,
Like, I see. Well, that's the question. If dragons breathe like soul scattering fire, I guess that would actually be quite dangerous for
oh,
like
100%.
an
That
unmade.
that would kill you just as much as it would kill a normal person.
Okay, cool. Dragons, you say?
They nod. And you can tell with your skelepathy that they are like, just
Yeah.
even mentioning them makes him like shake a little bit. Um,
We'll keep in mind. Um,
um,
but yeah, so he's definitely in. So I'd know him for sure.
mhm. And
Right.
you have a rough like, I can give you names of the rest of the party. Like you've talked like
Yeah,
about with Braze enough that you know the others.
yeah,
So there's Cade who leads it, and he's
yeah,
kind of uh, like this like from when you were last talking to Braze, it's like this youthful adventurer, like scholar
yeah,
who's come up with a surprising amount of funding, and is going like deeper than ever before. And
yeah.
then with him are their partner, a woman called Ambrose, who Braze says is a bit of a mystery. They
Yeah.
came from beyond the continent, like from the ocean.
Yeah.
And they have a strange bird with them, like always, and there's like an unnatural connection. And it has like these weird multicolored feathers. And Braze is like not sure what he thinks about the bird.
Right.
Mainly because it has an odd skeleton.
I see. What happened with an odd skeleton? Cool.
Then there's Darian, who Braze is a little bit on the fence about. Like they say they're like a nice human, like they're generally quite quite intelligent. But Braze,
Yeah.
he kind of says like he feels he's a little paranoid around Darian because he always feels like he's
Yeah.
after the staff.
Right.
Which you know Braze always keeps like on him in eyesight. Like basically he's always
Yeah.
holding onto it.
Well, I know how long he's had the staff for, like years and years and years and years, I imagine.
Yeah, he woke
Or,
up
like,
with like.
right, okay.
So it's like an heirloom, and like he doesn't want to let go because it's like the only thing that ties him to his old life.
I see. I guess if I knew Braze, if I knew this man who was an unmade, I assume probably for other like unmades I know, I'd be like, listen, if you hear anything about, who I was, or like any information about that, this is like a thing that I'd probably have asked most everyone. Like, if you ever hear anything, let me know.
Well, you would have been having like you have had like a few vague memories, which
Yeah.
I was going to move on to in a second. But now would
Right.
probably be a
Okay.
good time to mention them because you've like very occasionally get these strange, almost like dreams where you remember things from your old life.
Yeah.
And there's specifically this tower that keeps coming like into play. You remember like people talking to you and like this tower constantly flickering in and out of your vision, and you just know that it's like important to you.
Yeah.
But you've checked you've been mapping out Soulsmith for a while now, and like this tower hasn't been you've seen lots of towers, like they're relatively common, especially nearer the city, but they some of them operate quite strangely because of their sorcery. Like for example, on the map you can see the Cobalt Spire.
Yes.
That place is like a really weird. Like it often rejects magical things and prevents stuff moving past it. But like other towers in the past, like you've known move around based on the day of the week. So they literally can just like teleport and do all kinds of strange things. And especially with some of them decaying, that behavior can become extremely erratic. But you've scavenged, especially the inlands, whilst you were in the early years, and so you assume that wherever this tower is must be further out, like where you've explored less. And maybe it's Braze who, when you're talking about this, might give you a pointer about a possible location for this.
Yeah. I see. Braze. What a hero.
I think he would say there's a place, Blackwater Crypt. There you'll find many of our kind. There's a secret city for just the unmade. They were, when I went there with the party, they were pretty adamant about this rule. I basically had to fight them to let just one of the other party members down there. But they have strange archives of knowledge collected between their members. If you're looking for the tower, it'll be recorded in their archives, I'm sure.
And what I've heard rumors about, like of this city for the dead.
Yes. You know
Yeah.
this thing exists, Blackwater
Yeah.
Crypt. Uh, it's there's it's like it's had like a relatively large amount of infamy.
Yeah.
And like over time is like people will basically go missing around the area, and like there are people who say like the place is evil, but
Right.
you think that a lot of it is just like hysteria, and that actually it's just where a lot of unmade are gathering,
Right.
and people are just getting scared around it, but it's
Mm.
relatively reasonable.
Oh, I guess my journeys will undoubtedly take me there at some point. Thank you, Graves. Um, and yeah,
So the final member of the party
yes,
was a younger girl called Tulip, who
yeah.
Ray's would have been like, I don't really know much about them. There was some kind of priest. They almost always gave me strange looks.
Gave. Look, alright, bro. Note it down.
However,
Interesting group. What happened? Sorry, however.
so like, years like later when you're in Rolling Gate after the
Yeah,
party's disbanded,
yeah,
you would come across a few members of their group. So the father, not father even,
the
the
leader.
leader,
Cade.
Cade,
Yeah,
Darian,
yeah,
and I think just those two are here.
yeah.
The rest
I
of them
see.
are elsewhere. And I think they've kind of been walking through town, like talking.
Hmm.
And you would note like something strange, like immediately upon seeing them, is that
Hmm.
Cade would have Braze's staff.
Ah. Well, I guess that would be what would instigate me to I'd approach and be like, "Hello, sorry to interrupt, but that staff. I know you. You're Cade and Daria. You were with an unmade like myself, Braze. What happened to him? He never
Um,
let go of that thing.
you can make me an insight roll if you wish.
I shall.
They kind of look at each other.
Insight is wisdom. So I'm good at. I've got +12. So all right. 18 plus 12, so 30.
They share a glance, and you know that you're in for some bad news.
I see.
And Cade kind of looks over and says, uh, our latest venture went poorly. We were following a group of fellow adventurers who'd gone missing.
Mm-hmm.
They'd headed toward this strange ivory tower close to the capital. We were worried about them. It had been a few days. We wanted to check in. We headed there and learned that the place was guarded by fiends. We were ambushed. Had to make our way into the tower. We were trying to flee, but Bray says it was too unstable to use the staff, causing the entire place to go up in flames. We fought, and Bray's sacrificed himself to buy us some time. I'm not sure what happened to the other party, but the amount of anomalies that were, well, were some of the strongest I've ever seen.
I see. Where is this tower to? And assuming, would I have like a map? I assume I would like a map of the general area. The task, like, could you point it out to me?
They would, yeah. So you can say that you know. You can say the ivory tower was here, but we used the staff eventually to escape. And when the creatures tried to break in, the entire building collapsed.
Let's see. Well, if I find myself there, maybe I will find his bones. And, well, you say he was. What happened to him? Because if he merely was killed in battle, he should be back by now. Or was there something else afoot? Did the anomalies take him?
Wyverns, I think.
Ah.
Some kind of fire from two directions at once. They threw the staff and were engulfed in flames. And when we managed to get through the doors into the tower itself, this strange thing, as if the air itself were close to shattering. The tower had this sorcery, and its inside looped up and down in a strange way. We dropped a rock and it fell and then came from above.
Ah. Very strange. And, well, very unfortunate. I will leave you to your grieving. And thank you very much for telling me. I wish you luck.
Wait, he would say...
Yes?
I heard you were knowledgeable in these areas.
I am.
I would like to hire you for some work.
Of course.
Um,
What is the job?
So, I think, basically, as you would like go forwards, Kay would hire you for some work, investigating a place like near where the failed encampment was, like up near the temple of Lucia, and as you go and working with him, you'd see you'd learn that Darian is going to basically leave and take the manual just walk to Darkmere Fortress. You would also learn that the staff itself is basically unusable. It's broken. As part of what happened on this job. And so they're carrying it more out of respect. And maybe hoping that one day they'll be able to fix it.
Yes.
You would also know, as you're kind of making your way, doing this job with them over in near these temples, they hire some local muscle and things like that to help with the job, and it goes relatively smoothly. And they're quite a nice person, but they also have this journal. That they are basically always keeping relatively secret. And they seem to be the job itself is quite a strange one. They are basically trying to get to a certain place in the temple by a certain amount of time. So that's why they hire you, so that they can get to where they need to be safely within their budget. And as you get there, like on time, you're a few days early, and after a bit of
Yeah.
camping, they kind of look up into the sky at a certain time, like after checking their book, and you'd see there's like a strange, like celestial anomaly, as there's
Yeah.
like a temporary eclipse. It's like an hour long. It's nothing too
Yeah.
crazy. And nothing particularly interesting happens during this time, other than it just becomes a lot more obvious, like where like some of the more anomalous places near the temple are, as they're like their
Yeah.
red glow becomes more visible in the darkness. Um, but they seem very satisfied by this eclipse taking place, and they kind of close
Hmm.
their book, and eventually you pass like split ways.
Yes. No, fair. So would have done that, and then I guess just well, how long is this from that point till like the start of the campaign? Just so I'm aware.
So that would have been um, hmm, maybe 10, 12 years?
Right, fair enough. So he's no longer a youthful adventurer.
No.
Uh,
um, in fact, like way later, you hear that like he has some like disaster in his home life, and he basically
yeah,
leaves Soulsmere entirely.
I see.
Um, and during like these like 10 years of absence, you uh, get like you build up quite a network of connections in
Yeah.
the various like towns and locations. And then oddly one day, like you get a letter from Kate, who
Mm,
has somehow become a lord. Um, uh,
I see.
so he is now a lord in the what's the name?
Is it Landrel or
Landra. That's it.
another? Yeah.
Um, and he is basically asking if you would assist in another job.
No worries. Always been good to me.
The job is basically simple. You are to help guide like a group of like talents that he's put together to
Hmm.
first get to like Darkmoor Fortress,
Yeah.
where then from there they will like ask you to help find a safe route to the center of Soulsmere. But he attaches in the letter that he believes that due to the nature of like near the center, his
Hmm.
previous guesses as to where the center was is wrong, and he
Right.
thinks that the center of the actual spread of Soulsmere is in a different place, and he wants people to go there and check it out.
I see. Well, a route I have not done in a very, very, very long time. All the
Hmm.
way back to Darkmoor Fortress. It's been probably been quite a while since I last even ventured over that direction. But I'm sure I know the route.
Hmm.
I'm sure my information is up to date and my network is good. So I would, yeah, I'd take the job.
Uh,
Am I meeting this party in Rolling Gate or
yeah. So to meet,
just outside?
yeah, just outside Rolling Gate.
Yeah.
And they are like they are like basically willing to match your price.
Yeah. Rad, rad. What would be like a reasonable price for this sort of job? Just so I know what kind of money is like in this realm. Because
Um,
that's a long journey. I'm acting as guide, and I'm
yeah,
going into Soulsmere,
like
like into the center.
you're one of the very few unmaids who are in a position to actually like know where to go and do.
Yeah.
You can charge a reasonable fortune for this job. Um,
Uh,
so a lot of money. Like in this world, you've got gold and silver.
yeah.
You know that so copper kind of exists, but it's like
It's
inflation's
worthless.
yeah, it's like basically
Yeah.
nothing. It's like pence.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, like uh, 10 gold is a lot. Like that's a good amount of money.
Right.
You can do a lot with 10 gold. 1 gold is enough to like feed like a family of 4 for a while.
Yeah.
But you know, 100 gold is like a lot.
Yeah.
You could probably charge more. So to give an idea of scale here,
Yeah.
let's see. So, give me a second. I'll go check some lore for you. Okay, yeah. So, people are paying like 10,000 gold pieces to anyone who survives in Sourcemere for 3 years, which is enough to like live in like a life of comfort, especially in places near Sourcemere where land is very cheap.
Yeah.
For like the rest of your life. They're also like the Outer Concession Pact is willing to pay 1 million gold to anyone who successfully cures Sourcemere, or basically stops its spread. But 1 million gold is like that's the kind of thing that multiple kingdoms come together to offer.
Yeah. Yeah. To stop a
The
cosmic
world
horror
ending, yeah.
existential threat. Yeah. Yeah. I guess he'd be like, this. I'll get them to them. I'll do what you like. Merely upon completion, given assumed no harm to the rest of the group, and completed to the best of our abilities, 250 gold pieces with a 10 gold piece to begin with, just to cover any potential borders or bandit payments, so we need not get into needless violence.
That is a very reasonable offer.
He's 100 years old. He does this kind of thing often enough, and doesn't really need money. He doesn't need money. He just takes it.
I think he would you begin like debating this over letter as you
Yeah.
send gold. And like he said, 250 gold. You've grown very kind, Kalder. I'm willing to pay you like 5,000 gold pieces.
5,000 gold
I
pieces,
will
I
not
will
pay you
take.
less than you're owed.
I will take 5,000 gold pieces. Apologies, my sense of currency is maybe from a different age.
They they
I remember when a copper piece could buy a loaf of bread.
I am surprised. It would be on their return letter.
Yes.
A
But
time
yeah,
of legend.
60 years ago, actually. Not really. Legend is anyway. But yeah,
yeah. So he offers you 5,000 gold, which is a fair amount.
yeah.
That's like basically a year and a half worth of like living in
Okay,
Sourcemere.
fair. I'll take that.
Yeah. So you think that's pretty reasonable. But he's also willing to give you like the additional gold, like stipend immediately for buying gear and things.
Yeah.
And so, should you agree to that, you have like a time and place for like basically where you're gonna meet the party outside Rolling Gate. He writes to like basically expect to meet like 3 like individuals that you'll need to like take across the land. And he gives you like a rough written description of like each one of them.
Yeah. I like to imagine, seeing as he's gonna be at Iceland Rolling Gate for a while, the party may find him like at like the entrance where his slaves are pulling, and he's just like walking by, like one of them who he's like quite chummy with. So he's just walking, like giving them company as they basically their forced labor until the others arrive.
Oh yeah. Do you wanna give that character some like some substance? Do we want to discuss
Yeah,
more
yeah,
about?
yeah. Let's make this guy. Let's make this guy.
So I'm imagining this is like basically a huge muscular guy called like
Yeah,
Seren.
yeah.
His scheme to make like 10,000 gold pieces is like just to live basically here, in Rolling Gate.
Right.
But he's poor, so he can't afford to like do the like like live here because the
Yeah.
taxes are insane. So he's basically decided that he'll just pull this place for multiple years. Like, could be
Right.
one
I
way.
see.
Um, or do you have any other suggestions? Like, how do you want to build them?
Um, I was thinking but that could work. I was thinking maybe like an odd contact of mine
Mm-hmm.
who'd been, got like arrested in Rolling Gate, like maybe, uh,
Okay, I'm into that.
yeah, like I knew him for like quite a while. I'd given him like a bunch of tours through Soul Smear, and then I come to Rolling Gate, like see them, like pulling it, and I'm
Oh,
like, oh dear. And then like, what's your, what we give him the same name. What do you say his name was?
Siren, I think.
Siren, yeah. Siren. And it could have been like, yeah, dear word, Siren. What's your bounty? They're like, oh, like 3K. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, bloody hell. What the fuck did you do? Oh,
Do you know what would be funny? He's
what?
doing illegal mining operations and accidentally opened a new borehole.
Yeah.
He's just doing. I had a strategy. Blast mining was going very well. I was getting rich. Do you know the amount of natural resources in those mountains? Um, Shame
I'm
about my
aware.
men. They were good people.
Right. Oh, Siren. I'd say never change, but it looks like change has been forced upon you.
You're a good skeleton, Carl.
Yeah, alright. Man in Rolling Gate. What? Slave in Rolling Gate.
Mm. And this guy
Rolling
can be
Gate.
a connection for you. If you want
Yeah.
someone to buy high explosives, Kalder has connections. No, not Kalder, sorry, Siren has connections.
So
There's
it
some
has
people who can hook
connection.
you up with explosives.
Yeah. He was imprisoned at Rolling Gate after blast mining the mountains and making another death hole.
Yeah. Alright, perfect. Um, do you have any questions or anything that you want to discuss before we go kind of
Um,
into session one kind of territory?
I guess just like a vague overview on the kind of things I'd be expecting. Like I can like relay to the party of
Yeah.
being like, okay, if we're going to Darkmoor, we're going to have to deal with at least this, and this, I think.
Mhm.
It's been like a decade at least since I've gotten past the Carnage Mines, because the Frozen Descent kind of sucks to go across.
Yeah, let's just go through like talk about some stuff then. So
Yeah,
so we'll go from I guess right to left.
yeah,
So to the north, the Shimmer
yeah,
Wastes. That used to be a
yes,
big forest up there.
yes,
Now it's just nothing. Um,
yeah,
you know about the Feld encampment?
yeah,
Some buglings are there now.
yeah,
Uh, the Temple of Lutia is like there's still like a lot of it's actually doing surprisingly well in there.
mm-hmm,
That there's like some places you can hide if you need to. Like it's a
yeah,
relatively a sanctuary, and occasionally like priests and things make like pilgrimages there, so it can be an okay
yeah,
place. The Patchwork Marsh is like a new kind of like Soulsmere like biome emerging now that it's like seeping through like the mountains. And it's
Yep.
projected that that kind of marsh is going to spread like down, like and down like ruin the landscape around here.
Yeah.
And some strange creatures have been spotted in this new emerging land.
Yep.
Blackwater Crypt is the place where the Unmade have their city.
Yes.
But some of the people they exile from that city are normally Unmade that have gone insane. And so you need to be careful about who you trust on the outside. Because they might not have their wits about them.
I see.
You also know of a murderer who is going around that area right now, who we've spoken about previously.
Yes. But killing humans generally, aren't they? Or killing
basically anything
do they
that's
get
Unmade.
anything that isn't unmade, mega racist against people who aren't dead.
And his name is Vorik.
Vorik, okay. Vorik?
Yeah, Vorik the Unmaker. Because he kills people.
Yeah. Unmade serial killer. Cool. And then I guess seventh act.
Yes. So,
It's like a little Path of Exile reference there.
there's a.
It sounds like one.
Well, it's in Act 7 of Path is the Bridge encampment.
Yeah.
And also encampment over with a bridge. A
Right,
little
right,
bit.
yeah.
But it's also basically like fortresses are set up every time Soulsmere expands.
Yeah.
And basically since these major settlements have been like put forwards, like expeditions wise. This is like the 7th major one that was set up, and it was put over this like big crack that formed in an attempt to basically just make it possible should Darkmoor Fortress eventually become like deep into Soulsmere.
Yeah.
It was also a place that was until rather recently a hot like a big contested area. So there were a bunch of people from Haruki and a bunch of people from Landro, and they were fighting over who had control over that place. Eventually, it kind of it fell under like Landro, and now like basically any Haruki, anyone from there who passes through. Generally speaking, you have to pay like tolls and extra things that no one else does.
The people from Haruki are told and discriminated there.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Then beyond that, there's the Three Valleys.
Yeah.
There was like a big war that took place here. Well before Soulsmere wiped through. But since then, since Soulsmere has come through, like strange anomalies and things have been spotted there. Of occasional basically ghostly warriors and stuff picking up their blades that were long abandoned. So the Scarlet Lake, to the north of that is bad news. So it's thought that basically there's a the shimmer storms are like hitting against the mountains near the top, and it's building up this basically unraveling water that is building up residue and then pouring down the other side of the mountain. And so the Scarlet Lake is think of it like the Scarlet Rot lake underneath Elden Ring, that huge place. It's like that. It's just building up by that mountain.
I see.
Not a great place to be.
No.
Then the Cobalt Spire is a rare remnant of Remra that's extremely far south. and it's always been an oddity. And
Yeah.
basically, no one was able to go like anywhere close to it. It just repelled everything. It just became
Yeah.
harder and harder to get closer to it, to the point where you just couldn't move closer to it. But
Yeah.
since it's very recently been claimed by Soulsmith, its sorcery has begun to unravel, and
Yeah.
things are starting to get closer and closer to its base now.
Yeah.
So soon people will be able to raid it. The Karish Mines is a place of particular note. First, it's the closest civilization to Darkmoor Fortress.
Yeah.
But the other thing about it is that it is a place where you can mine a very valuable type of clay
Yeah.
that are used to make soul stamps.
Stamp. Is mine. Cool.
Which are very
Which is
valuable for
very
Soul
powerful.
Scribes. Yeah.
Who's in charge of Landrel as well, or?
No, that is now run by basically an organization that has come in and just taken over. Like they're just independent.
Cool.
And it's on basically the edge of this huge cliff
Yep.
that they're mining into. But it's like a very vertical city.
Yeah.
And it goes down to the frozen descent, which is just
Yes.
big icy plateaus. Now, normally, if you were making the trip to Darkmoor Fortress, you just go dead north, up over the frozen descent, and up the honor pass to the fortress. But new borehole opened up west of Darkmoor Fortress, and a huge storm has come through. And as a result, you can't take that route anymore. So you have to go down down the Karish Mines way. And it's all kind of like the Shimmer Storm is mostly being blocked by the Spire, but then also the ravine that like the 7th Act crosses. It's almost being sucked down deep underground in that
Right.
crack. And that's probably not good, but no one really knows what that's doing and stopping it from getting elsewhere, so it's, the best. And then the Honor Pass, at least until, before the Shimmer Storm was there, it was known to be full of opportunists, bandits, that kind of thing. Ready to pick people off before they got to the fortress proper.
Yeah.
However, with the Shimmer Storm hitting, there's very few people making the trip. And so it's unknown whether or not how dangerous that will be at the moment.
Fortress of land used to be dangerous, but now it's unknown. Now it's unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Anything else, or is that the gist of it?
I think that's the gist of it.
Alright, Brill. I've got some notes. I will well, I guess I'll be waiting waiting until these adventurers show up. As I amble past Siren, helping him recount old victories of buying up lots of ore.
Yeah, I look forward to start that with you talking to them. I think they've basically been blast mining gold out of the mountains, which they've been basically taking and making counterfeit coins.
Yeah.
But I think they you probably he's told you this, but he's also said they don't know about the coin part yet, just the blast mining because of the incident with the borehole. But listen, if you don't, once I get out of here, I'm gonna be a rich man. So thanks for talking to me in the meantime. I won't forget it.
I won't forget you.
So,
Yeah,
is anything else, or are
I
you
think
set to
that's
go?
it.
Brill. Let me think. Am I forgetting anything? Um, I don't think so. If I do forget something, I will tell you before session one, or it will be in session one. But thank you for coming and spending some time to do a little bit of background stuff, session zero things, and I really
Yeah,
hope you have a good time as on Friday when we begin. Um, so I'll see you then.
yes, I will. I'll look forward to it.